This sweatshop was run by a subcontractor and had not been authorized by us. We will do more audits to make sure this won't happen ever again.
The Brazilian government has been shutting down sweatshops, but acknowledges this will not solve the problem. Vera Albuquerque is a high-ranking officer in Brazil's labor ministry.
We have laws, we have prevention measures that we can take, but I think the most important thing is education. I think the work that know his rights won't accept this kind of work.
Experts fear that Brazil's economic growth could be making matters worse. The executive director of NGO Repórter Brasil, Leonardo Sakamoto, has been investigating modern slavery in the country for over a decade.
Middle and working classes are buying more, so there's pressure to increase production and reduce costs. So, working conditions and workers' rights are being destroyed up to a point when you cross the slavery line.
Two factories visited during the raids were forced to shut. The migrant workers received compensation but lost their jobs. As long as Brazil's economy grows, more Bolivians will come to its big cities, lured by false promises of a better life.
Paulo Cabral, clothing factories in Brazil and no slavery.
Elements to 6 GMT Sports headlines now. Two of the biggest names in European football are drawn together in the group stage of the Champions League. Good morning, Joe Parsons.
Good morning, yes. The defending champions Barcelona and AC Milan share 11 titles, and they've been grouped together with Bate Borisov of Belarus and the Czech champions Plzeň. Last year's beaten finalists Manchester United will meet the unfancied Basel and Galats, and Benfica, that's the side they beat in the 1968 final under the captaincy of Sir Bobby Charlton. Well, United fans believe they have a good draw, and the club's chief executive David Gill shares their view.
Fans know football. I think it's a good draw. I mean, we clearly could have been worse draws there. We're looking forward to it, and we're going to obviously take it very professionally as we always do, and hopefully we can progress through the group and get to the knockout stages.
And looking at the group, I suppose Benfica is also an emotional game for United.
Very much so. I think before the draw we saw what I've been talking about it, and it came through very, very clearly. That 68 win was absolutely fantastic for him, the players, obviously the club. So we played them since then in the mid-2000s, and up to the group stage, I think in 2005. We get on well with them. Fabio comes to the official functions, and they're an excellent club. We're looking forward to that.
The three Premier League sides in Europa League action have all made it through to the group stage. Fulham, Stoke and Spurs knocked out Dnipro, Thun and Hearts respectively. Last year's beaten finalist Braga only made it through on away goals though, after a 2-2 draw with Young Boys in the second leg in Switzerland. In Italy, last-minute efforts to avert the player strike have failed, making it very likely that Saturday's planned start of the season will be delayed. John Foots, the author of Calcio, A History of Italian Football, he says that the players are in a strong position.
The players have a very strong union in Italy, which has been there since 1968, and they have many collective rights, such as a solidarity fund for players who are out of work, such as the fact that players don't have to train separately if out of the squad, and they don't want to give up these rights. And so it's a big battle between the league and the unions, and this is over some of these rights, and I think it's very hard to see either side backing down this time.
And you can hear more about the troubles facing Italian football in this week's World Football here on the BBC World Service. Meanwhile, this weekend's strike by footballers in Spain has been called off. La Liga have guaranteed that from next season, salaries will be paid if clubs face financial problems or go into receivership. Work will continue to try and reach a compromise for any clubs that suffer financial problems this season.
Joe Parsons there, thanks very much for all the latest sports.
Now, the Indian anti-corruption activist Anna Hazare says he's going to end his hunger strike if Parliament today begins a full debate on a much tougher anti-corruption law. Mr. Hazare has attracted huge support across India. Even major markets and traders closed yesterday in solidarity. An extraordinary development. Anders Pai is on the board of directors at Infosys, based in Bangalore. He says he's never seen such a thing.
Yes, I think it's unprecedented because for the last 30 years, I have not seen so many people agitated over this issue, so many people coming out into the streets, so many young, bright, educated people sitting down at various places in this country, marching on the streets, going to their MPs and asking them to take action. And I think it's remarkable because Parliament is finally listening to the voice of the people. I'm very happy that the Prime Minister and Parliament have decided they're going to debate the issue. It is an extraordinary event in Indian history.
What do you think has got the attention of the politicians? Is it the fact that they've got this dangerously charismatic individual? Is it the number of people turning out? Or is it the fact that the financial markets are supporting him?
Well, I think the basic fact is there's so many young people marching on the streets, sitting down and agitating against this. Anna Hazare is a remarkable figure. He's become a lightning rod, a figure whom people trust, a figure who stands up for what people believe in. But the fact remains that the popular support is extraordinary. Support is all across the country. It is not limited to one region. And what they're demanding has the support of the people. Very many times, activists come and go before Parliament and lobby for a bill, but they do not have this kind of popular support. This time, the support is deeply popular. I think it's the popular support that is making the Prime Minister and Parliament look at this very seriously.
What kind of experiences have you had, Mr. Pai, in terms of setting up your business, dealing with the business, cooperating with business-related legislation? Does it touch on your lives?
Yes, it does touch on my life, but I worked in Infosys before I stepped down. And Infosys is a marquee company, so we did not have much problem. We refused to pay bribes. People knew about that. So the people make sure that they kept us at distance, and everything that we applied for was done as per the law. We broke no law. But individually, I faced many challenges of corruption, had to stand up to fight corruption.
So what, let me stop you, sorry to interrupt. What happens when a company gets a reputation for not paying bribes? I mean, obviously it's one that you would be proud to stand on, but there's got to be a lot of security people, a lot of business people, a lot of political people who kind of go, well, I'm not going to talk to Infosys if I can't make cash out of it.
Well, I think what happens is that if you do not pay a bribe, after a period of time, people accept that do not pay bribes and your work gets done in the normal course. So I think if all of us decide not to pay bribes and to go along, I think the system will work satisfactorily.
Has it meant in practice that you've had things happen more slowly in some cases?
Yes, things move very slowly. Things take their own time. You have to make repeated visits to government offices and talk to them again and again. You have to escalate it to the political establishment. You have to meet the minister. It takes a lot more energy and time to do business without bribes.
That is the view from Infosys in Bangalore. Mohandas Pai there.
And the time at 5:55 GMT. The world's biggest film festivals happen in well-known locations. Sundance in Utah, Venice, Berlin, Tribeca in New York, and Cannes, of course. But fans of the old Charlie Chaplin silent movies are heading to the village of Waterville in rural southwest Ireland this weekend.
Waterville, you're asking? Where's that and why? Vincent Dowd packed his bag to find out.
I thought I knew a fair amount about Chaplin. I didn't know, actually, that from 1959, almost until the end of his long life, he came here on holiday each year. By then, he was having problems, of course, with the US authorities. They decided he was a bit of a radical. He went to live in Switzerland, but he ended up spending quite a lot of time here in Ireland. Of course, by then, he'd married Una O'Neill, 36 years his junior, daughter of the playwright Eugene O'Neill, of course, and she wanted to discover her Irish roots. And also, this part of Kerry is very beautiful, it has to be said.
So what's actually been happening as the festival gets underway?
Well, I have to say Thursday was slightly surreal. Waterville, like a lot of little places down in this part of Ireland, is really just a main street with the Atlantic behind, making it very dramatic, it's true. But on Thursday afternoon, there were hundreds of Charlie-alikes, so to speak, people dressed as Charlie Chaplin in tramp mode, walking down the main street with that famous, rather strange duck-like waddle, most of them wearing bowlers and canes, some of them 5 years old, some of them much, much older than that, all here to launch this 4-day festival of Chapliniana, if I can call it that. Extraordinary that the tramp hit the screen in early 1914, before World War I. The big parts of his career were over before you or I were born, yet people still know who he was, they still know what he was like. They still understand, if you'll pardon the word, iconography. I asked Joe McGill, one of the organisers here, what this festival is supposed to be about.
Well, Charlie Chaplin was a man of many talents, and this festival is reflecting that. His films had a social commentary and a comedic element to his films. We want to reintroduce Charlie Chaplin to a